Hey everybody, this is my red-clawed crab tank, and we're fortunate enough that a few of them have actually come out while I'm sitting here. I just did a fair amount of work on this tank today. I got in there and did a really big water change, and I mean a really big water change. I drained as much of the water as I could realistically while leaving the fish in there with a place to swim. I cleaned out both filters, not only the filter pads themselves, but I took the little impellers out and the pumping apparatus, and I got all the gunk out of that. You know, after a while the insides of those starts to get gummed up and it slows the water flow and everything. So we got our waterfalls back up to optimal. I did a nice big fat water change. Got in there and wiped all that brown diatom algae off the glass. And most importantly, what I did was I got in there and I removed a bunch of those little Endler's guppies that I used to have swimming around in here. I threw some females in there not long ago, and I left them in there way too long. I threw a bunch of babies in there, and as they began to grow, obviously some of them were female, and then I actually noticed the other day that I had a baby in the tank. So apparently they're all grown up, and I was starting to get the next generation going on in there, which I do not want. So I collected them all up. I got as many of the ones that I could think of and find and identify as female. I put them in my quarantine tank, and then I kept 3 of the Endlers out. A buddy of mine actually is looking for a little splash of color in one of his smaller tanks, and so I'm going to be giving him 3 little Endlers here. These are all mixed breed. There's only one in there that's a true identifiable species, and that is the there's 2 cobras, and then I think there's one standard, what you would just buy if you bought an Endler's guppy, and then the rest are all just mixed from whatever they got raised up from pregnant females that I got for free one day. I was foolish enough to say sure, I'll take them, and then I ended up with guppies everywhere. So a lot of them went into my gourami tank, and from time to time I still see little babies swimming around in the gourami tank, but there's enough predatory fish in there that something as small as a little guppy fry or an Endler's fry doesn't last very long in that tank. And then a couple of the other females wound up going over into my 55-gallon angelfish tank, and likewise there's, obviously there's angelfish in the tank. Little guppy fry don't last very long, so it's not really an issue for me there either. So nothing really specific to look at with this tank. I just haven't shot any video of it in quite a while. I've been wrapped up on some of my other tanks. I've got some issues going on. We don't need to get into that now. Anybody that's been following along certainly knows what's been going on, and if you haven't, all you got to do is check out a few of my more recent uploads, and you will see all of the drama that I've got going on in my 125 end of my native tank. I've got some illnesses and some outbreaks, but this tank is still going strong. Everything's doing fine. Might get to see a little bit of confrontation here between these two. Not really. They usually just sort of give each other room, and they each act like they won, and then they go their separate ways. I've never really seen any serious confrontation with these, although that one does look like it's kind of bullying the other one around and saying I won and pushing him away. So that's pretty interesting. One thing I did want to note while I was in here, if you will see the rock that is to the left, I'm going to try to look at it through the front pane. It's dead center in your screen right now. It looks sort of slimy and reddish brown. That reddish brown slime is in fact that horrible red cyanobacteria that I used to have in my brackish tank once upon a time, my true brackish tank. This tank has brackish water in it, but I think of this tank as my red-clawed crab tank. My brackish tank actually is my tank that contains my figure-8 puffer butterbean. And speaking of which, we did a big water change and glass cleaning and filter change and everything on that tank today too, so we will be doing some butterbean feeding video here in the very near future. In fact, when I'm done this video, I'm going to do that. So make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss watching Butterbean eat his dinner. He's going to get some snails tonight, and it's always fun watching him eat some snails. So I actually shut my other brackish tank down because of that red slime cyanobacteria. I could not get it out. I treated and treated and treated, and it always came back, and the whole tank was covered in it, and it stunk. It's really gross. I always say that it smells like a wet dog in a storm cellar. It's just nasty. So We'll see. Right now it just kind of seems to be on that rock. It's kind of strange though, because it doesn't grow in high oxygen environments. And I mean, it's got a thin film of water rapidly running across it. If you can't get any more high oxygen than that, I wouldn't imagine, and yet it seems to be doing okay. And it's definitely that bacteria. I touched it with my finger and then smelled my finger, and there's no mistaking that smell. It is definitely that red slime cyanobacteria. So as long as it just sits on that rock and it gives that rock that sort of reddish patina look and the other green sort of algae next to it, I guess I'm not going to mind too much. Here, let me see if we can't have a look in the top and see it a little bit better. You can definitely see how sort of reddish in color that is. Compared to just the regular old green algae that's growing on the other stuff. So I don't know why that one rock has it on there. Perhaps it was infected with it when I brought it into the tank, and it just, you know, it took me letting the tank go a little while. I sort of neglected it. It was getting really dirty and everything. And I finally got around to doing that whole huge, you know, long overdue maintenance today. Like I was saying, I got in there and cleaned out the filters, and, you know, the waterfall over here, I actually have to take the top off of the tank and take the lid off that waterfall and pull the pump out and pull the filter parts out and everything. So it was a bit of work, but I didn't film any of it, and it's amazing how rapidly I can get stuff done around here and how much I can get accomplished in a day if I don't actually worry about videoing every little stage of it and all my timing and lighting and where I left off and where I'm supposed to pick up and, you know, so on and so forth. I put a lot of work into throwing those videos together. They may seem slapped together, but I actually put a lot of time and effort into them. So when I'm able to get in here and just put some music on and just do my thing and not worry about what comes next or, you know, what I last said in the last scene or whatever, I can just roll right along. So we got a lot done in here. We got my brackish tank cleaned out. I will mention my 125 that I am working on. It's got an ick infection right now, and I got the temperature cranked up a little bit, so we're kind of keeping an eye on watching how high the temperature climbs and how fast it climbs. So hopefully I will be in here this evening getting a little more accomplished, because since I'm here anyway, may as well, you know, get another tank cleaned out or something. So there's your video for my red clawed crab tank. Again, nothing really specific, just wanted to shoot a little bit of video of it. I know I've been neglecting some of my other tanks, and this is definitely one of my more interesting ones. Oh goody, I just saw one of the fish in there flashing on a rock. I know that's normal. They do that from time to time, especially after a water change. That's not unusual at all to see the fish flashing. But when you've got a tank that's got an ick infection going on in it and you see a fish in another tank flashing, it's alarming. So I've just got to really make sure I don't cross-contaminate anything, and hopefully we'll be able to get on top of that ick infection in short order here. So anyway, make sure you're subscribed, and then you won't miss any of the little random stuff I've got coming up, all the stuff I've got going on with my other tanks. And then, of course, you don't want to miss the joy of watching Butterbean have his dinner, which we're going to get ready to film here in a minute. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget, this one is my red clawed crab tank, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.